Give me 1 second to get the stream tweeted out, and then we will get started. Alright, stream's tweeted out. Okay, so, as the title suggests, I will be teaching you guys how to play Dungeons and Dragons using Minecraft. We just recently finished our gigantic table. I love this thing. As you can see, up at the top right, we have our character sheet and some dice. Now, I know the video quality is a little grainy. Can't help that. That's the best kind of camera I've got. So, I'll be super descriptive with the character sheet. Other than that, we're going to wait a couple minutes here for people to pop in. Just anyone that wants to join us. We'll get rid of this guy real quick. There we go. Okay. I do have blocks and other things to... We'll do some mock battles after the basics have been gone over. Like I said, we're just going to chill for a couple minutes, and then we'll start once people have started to come in. These dice that I have, I've got this set. It's kind of like a marble D a marble like white dice set, and I've got my plain black and white die because these are the easiest to read. I do have my whole little chest full of dice. As you can see, I have this really nice rainbow set, sort of rainbow. I've got this metal. This is my metal die. I've got these black and white or black and red set, and then this one. It's a little hard to read, but it's like green, and then it's clear on the inside. And then I have this glittery orange set. A little hard to read when it's all the way down here. So I picked my two best sets that could be easily read. Yeah. Other than that, we'll wait for this sun to go down so we can reset this day. And then we'll get started. As soon as the sun goes down, we can rest and get our new little day started. I've been looking forward to this more than maybe I've looked forward to anything else in this game. This is going to be a very comprehensive guide. I hope. I hope it's comprehensive. I hope it's comprehensive enough to teach everyone. I know there's a lot of videos out there where you have to watch a bunch of different videos to get all this information. I'm just going to jam pack it all into this. Alright, so I guess we'll start with our character sheet. So, we're going to start with this top section up here. This is where your character name goes. Right here. I don't feel like I need to explain names, so I won't. Your class and level. That's what that is. There's a little line here. Now, your class and level, that's, well, I guess that's pretty explanatory too. There are 13 classes in the game. Once you've picked your class, you will write that here, and then you will ask your dungeon master, what level will we be starting at for this upcoming campaign? You may start at level 1. If you're new, it's preferable to start at level 1, but you may start at level 3 or level 5. If you're a new player, I doubt your dungeon master will start you any higher than level 5. Your background. There are many, many backgrounds. There's like over 30. However, this just explains what you were doing before you became an adventurer. It also gives you 2 skill proficiencies. Sorry, let me mute my phone. Thought I did have it muted. Okay. So, the background gives you 2 skill proficiencies that are these. You want to pick proficiencies that you don't get through your class, which will give you proficiencies, and sometimes your race will give you proficiencies as well, which is down here. This is where you'll put your race. There are many different races to play as. The basic ones are, human, elf, dwarf, gnome, tiefling, dragonborn. There's a few that come in the player's handbook, but this is where your race will go. We'll jump up here to player name. That's just your name. That's your name. It's just your name. Experience points. So when you defeat a monster or defeat an encounter, your dungeon master will award you with experience points unless they're using what's called milestone leveling, which instead of experience points, you will do this big long quest, and at the end of it, they will reward you a level because you've hit a certain milestone. But you will earn experience points until you have enough to level up, at which point you will level up. And we'll go over leveling up here in a moment. Alignment. So, alignment is rarely used. And it's rarely used because we as humans are not one-dimensional creatures. So it's hard for us to stick to this once we've chosen our alignment. It's hard to stick to it. But the alignment is there's law, and there's chaos, and there's good, neutral, evil. So think of it like a 3x3 grid. You have good, you have neutral, and you have evil. So, up here is lawful good. Law is basically not you are beholden to the law. It means you have a very strict code of honor that you live by. If you live by a code, you are lawful. If you say, screw it, throw everything to the wind, and do what I feel like, you're chaotic. And if you're anywhere in between, you're neutral. And then you have good, neutral, and evil. So, we have lawful good, neutral good, and chaotic good. And then we have lawful neutral, chaotic neutral, and we'll come back to this one in the middle. But we also have lawful evil, we have neutral evil, and we have chaotic evil. This one in the center, this is true neutral. This is, I am only here to help myself, but not to the detriment of others. I'm not looking to help people, but I'm not looking to hurt people. I am out for me and mine. And I'm not trying to hurt anyone else in the process. But if someone gets hurt, so be it. Think of robots. A lot of robots would be true neutral. But, you know, there's also unaligned for animals. Animals don't follow any sense of moral compass. They are unaligned. They have no reasoning of right or wrong. They have instinct and instinct alone. So, that's everything up here. We're going to move down to our core stats. We have strength, we have dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. These are your core stats. As a matter of fact, this side of the page you will reference more than anything else. Maybe not inspiration, but this section right here, cutting out inspiration, you'll reference that more than anything. So, you get these scores when you roll up your character. And to do that, I will show you right now how to roll up a character. So, one second. Okay. So, to roll up your character, you're going to need 4 d6s. This is how you roll up a character. So, we will take these 4 d6s, and you're going to roll them all and remove the lowest number, and that's what your stats are going to be. So, I'm going to go in order, but you don't have to go in order. So, we've got... Oh, that's bad. So, we got a 5, a 2, a 1, and a 1. We're going to take away one of these 1s, and we're left with 8. So, one of our stats is going to be an 8. I'm just going to write these here for reference. Our second stat, I won't go in order, by the way. Okay. 11, 12, 13. Removing the 1, because it's our lowest stat. 13. That's average. It's a little above average. Ooh, that's very good. We're going to remove the 2. That's our lowest stat, or that's our lowest number. And we've got 11. 16. That's very good. We're going to remove the 2. We've got 9. 4, 3, 2. Alright, that's a 9. That's not so good. Now there's 5 of our 6. Okay. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Unfortunately, we have 3 negative stats. And what I mean by that, stats go like this. They range from a -5 at 0 and 1, and +5 to 19 and 20. Your stats can go from 1 to 20. Well, I suppose they can go from 3 to 20 when you roll them. But, yeah. So, we have our stat numbers. But where are we going to put them? That's the question. Since we do have 3 negative numbers, we're going to have to dump 3 of our stats. Now, most DMs probably won't make you keep these negative stats. They'll probably let you bump them up to a 10. Depending on your dungeon master. They probably won't make you run with a negative stat. Some will, some won't. So we're going to bump these 9, 9, 8 up to 10. Just because I would never make a player run negative stats. Because it's just like horrendous weakness to have a negative stat. Alright. So, one of your biggest stats for any character is Constitution. This is going to determine how much health you get from leveling up and how much health you get to start. But your main stat is going to be whatever stat of the class you pick. Say you're a barbarian, your main stat's going to be strength. Matter of fact, we will just go ahead and start as a barbarian. Sorry, I'm at a weird angle here. So, we're going to start as a barbarian. Okay. So, our stats are going to go 16. Oh, that's not right. Sorry, I'm literally writing sideways here. 16. And then probably a 13 dexterity and a 13 constitution. And then we're going to have 10s across the board here. So, these are going to be our stats. Unfortunately, we didn't roll the best. But I'll explain why I put that 13 in dexterity instead of intelligence, wisdom, or charisma. So, our strength score, since it's a 16, 0 is at 10 and 11. No, that's not right. Yes? Yes, that is right. Sorry. It goes 0, 10, and 11, plus 1, 12, 13. No, that's not right. It's 9 and 10 is 0. I'm sorry. 11 and 12 is plus 1. 13 and 14 is plus 2. 15 and 16 is plus 3. 17 and 18 is plus 4. And 19 and 20 is plus 5. No stat can go above 20 naturally. So, we're going to have a plus 3. And then we're going to have a plus 2 here. And a plus 2 here. And then it's going to be 0, 0, 0. So at level 1, we're going to move on to proficiency. Your proficiency bonus. At level 1, this is going to be plus 2. This increases as time goes on. So, this is going to add to your attack rolls, your saving throws, and your skills. As long as you are proficient in said attack with the weapon you're making, the saving throw you're making, or the skills you're making a check for. So, let's see. Moving down, we're going to move straight into saving throws. Okay. As a barbarian, let me make sure that I'm correct on this. Let me pull up my little thing here. As a barbarian, we are proficient in strength, and constitution saves. And how we calculate these is you look at your score, the little thing down here. For strength, we have a +3, but we're proficient. So we're going to add our proficiency bonus, which will make that a +5. Our dexterity is a +2. We are not proficient, so it'll just be a +2 to our save. A constitution, we have a +2, and we have a +2 proficiency bonus. As we are proficient, that will come out to a +4. I did that backwards. And then these, we're not proficient. These will all be zeros because of our score. So, those are our saves. You will calculate your skills the exact same way. As a barbarian, we may choose 2 skills from animal handling, athletics, intimidation, nature, perception, and survival. The skills in order are acrobatics, dexterity, animal handling, wisdom, arcana, intelligence, athletics, strength, deception, charisma, history, intelligence, insight, wisdom, intimidation, charisma, investigation, intelligence, medicine, wisdom, nature, intelligence, perception, wisdom, performance, charisma, persuasion, charisma, religion, intelligence, sleight of hand, dexterity, stealth, dexterity, and survival, wisdom. So, we may choose 2 from animal handling, athletics, intimidation, nature, perception, and survival. So, which ones shall we pick? Well, it's important to consider your strengths and your weaknesses. Now, as good as intimidation sounds, it's a little harder to intimidate monsters than you might think. Depending on your DM, you might want to feel them out first. But if you think, hey, maybe this is a thing I can do, go with intimidation. I like intimidation personally. I haven't used it in a lot of scenarios, but that doesn't mean it's useless. Intimidation can be used to scare off creatures. It can be used to during interrogations. It can be used to get information. It can be used to stop fights completely. It's a versatile skill that I don't think I use enough personally. So, we have low intelligence, low wisdom, low charisma. Honestly, perception, depending on your party composition, it's never a bad thing to take. Especially if you end up having to take like a night watch. And then survival, honestly, or athletics. Honestly, one of these should be a strength. So we're going to take athletics for our second one. Athletic checks are the only strength-based check. So if you have to make a strength check 9 out of 10 times, it's going to be an athletics check. If you have high strength, you might want to pump that up. So, for our strength athletics checks, we're going to get a +3 from our base strength score. We're going to get a +2 from our proficiency bonus from being proficient. And that's going to give us a +5 total to any athletic checks we make. Perception, that goes off of wisdom, which is a 0, unfortunately. But because we're proficient, we get to add our +2 proficiency bonus, making it a +2 total. So, let's see. I'm only going to mark in what we're proficient in, because otherwise you're just slotting things in from these. So, our background. We are going to go over backgrounds, and there's... Let me see if I can get this to pick up on camera. No, I can't. Sorry about that. But there's quite a few. Let's see here. Let's see what background we might want here. We are a barbarian. We're not going to be very good in Arcana. Let's see. A good one to take, generally, is... Let's see. A lot of the times you can look up quick builds. Now, the quick build for the barbarian suggests the Outlander background. Now, let's see what this background gives you for Outlander. And this is basically, like I said, what you were doing before you became an adventurer. So, Outlander gives you athletics and survival. We already picked athletics, however, we can pick that and pick up survival as well from our background and get athletics from our background. And we can go back and pick another proficiency. Now, we get survival and we get athletics from our background now. So now we can pick up animal handling, intimidation, nature, and we've already got perception. So animal handling, intimidation, or nature. Honestly, if you are the type to want to get a pet, animal handling would not be terrible. If you want to pick up some kind of pet or an animal friend or something. So we're going to go ahead and pick up animal handling. So now, animal handling goes off of wisdom. We've got a 0 in wisdom, but we get a +2 from our proficiency bonus. So we're going to have a +2 to animal handling. Our survival is also wisdom, making that a +2 as well. So, inspiration. We're done with this. Let's cover inspiration. Inspiration, this is different than if you're a bard and you get bardic inspiration. This is inspiration that the dungeon master will give you. Now, you might be awarded an inspiration for a particularly good roleplay scenario. You may be awarded an inspiration for a really clever plan that you make, or something you do that just impresses your dungeon master. They may give you an inspiration. Now, if you're a dungeon master out there and you don't give inspiration, give inspiration. Come on. Like, inspiration's great. I give inspiration. And I've been given inspiration, and it feels great to, like, be recognized. Oh, hey, you did this cool thing. Let me give you inspiration. And what this is they will give you a die. It could be a D4. It could be a D6. It could be a D8. It could be a D12. But it'll be one of these. It'll be your D4. It'll be your D6. It'll be your D8. They might give you a D10 if they're generous. And if they're super generous, or you really impress them, they may even give you a D12. Now this acts as a D10. This is your percentile die. You can roll it in tandem with a D10 and get a number from 1 to 100. That would be 29. So that's what that's used for. This is your D20. Anytime you make a check, an attack, a saving throw, almost every roll you make is going to be made with this die. That is your most important die right there. So, we're done with this section, this whole section here. We don't have too much more important to talk about. This section right here, from here to here, this is all flavor. This is personality traits, the ideals of your character, what you believe in, your bonds, like who's important to you, what do you have in your life that you don't want to lose, something along that lines, and your flaws. What are your weaknesses? You can fill those out at your leisure. That's all flavor about your character. So, we're coming to here. This is all battle stuff, dealing with your character specifically. And the most important thing is armor class. Now, we come back to why we gave a 13 to dexterity. And why did we give a 13 to dexterity? Well, that's because your armor class is determined by your dexterity score. It's also determined by what type of armor you're wearing and if you're wielding a shield. Your armor class is calculated in this way. It is calculated by 10, the number 10, plus your dexterity modifier. That is the base calculation for armor class. 10 plus your dexterity modifier. Now, other things can add to this. Like I said, a shield, a basic non-magical shield will add +2 to your armor class. So, with no other frills, our armor class right now would be 12. Now, this depends on what kind of armor you're wearing, because the armor you're wearing will raise your base AC. A basic leather armor, I believe, raises your AC from 10 plus your dex to 12 plus your dex mod. And it goes all the way up to medium armors. So this is how armor is calculated. Well, first of all, to recap, armor class is calculated. It's 10 plus your dex mod, which in this case is a +2. So your AC with no frills would be 12. That's how hard you are to hit. When an enemy makes an attack roll against you, in this case it was a 19, they would make their attack roll, 19, they would add their attack modifier and their proficiency bonus, if they are proficient with the weapon they're attacking in, and they have to beat your AC to hit you. In this case, yes, that absolutely hits. Even before any modifiers. So, AC. This can be boosted with armor. It will raise that 10 plus dex to something higher plus dex unless you're wearing heavy armor. Heavy armor, you do not add your dex modifier because the AC granted by heavy armor is high enough. No, I believe it's because heavy armor is so heavy, you're not very dexterous while wearing it. But you do need at least a 15 strength score to wear heavy armor. So just keep that in mind. But light armor, you can add all of your dex mod. It's up to a +5 if you have 20 dexterity. Medium armor, you can add up to +2. So, because let's just forget we're a barbarian right now. We're just a blank character with no special abilities. We probably would be looking to get a set of medium armor. Medium armor with this dex score will provide you the most bang for your buck. Now, let's look at all the medium armors in our handy little dealy here. We're going to look at armor. We're going to go to medium. And we're going to go to common. Well, no, because that's magical. Not magical. Okay, we have breastplate. We have chain shirt. We have half plate. We have hide. And we have scale mail. So, your breastplate is going to be it's going to raise your AC base to 14, and then you will add your +2 up to a maximum of 2 dexterity modifier. Now we only have a +2, so that's pretty convenient for us. So our AC would go 14 plus dex mod, which would make it 16. And remember, this is how hard you are to hit, so you want that number to be high. Now that's one of the cheaper ones. The cheapest is a chain shirt. That'll be 13 plus your dex mod, up to a max of 2. The best that you can get is half plate. Half plate is the best kind of medium armor you can get. It gives you a 15 base AC plus the 2 up to a max of 2 to your dex mod, which will give you 17. You can pair that with a shield. Any non-magical shield will give you a +2 to AC. So, from level 1, if, and this is a big if, because half plate armor costs 750 gold, you probably won't be able to start with that. But, if you can convince your DM to let you start with half plate armor, and you can start with a shield, then you can have 15 plus dex mod up to a max of 2, which would be 17, plus your shield AC, which will be 19. Now, they probably won't let you start with half plate armor, but you can start with scale mail, which is 1 AC less, and it only costs 50 gold. The problem with medium and heavy armor, and I'll get into this real quick, they do give you disadvantage on all stealth checks. Without, a special ability or anything, you will have disadvantage on your stealth checks if you're wearing medium or heavy armor. So, we're through armor. We're through... Well, let's stay on armor a little bit here. Like I said, let me go give you a little refresher. For armor, light armor will give you whatever it gives you, the plus to the base AC, and then it'll give you whatever your dex mod is. It'll give you all of it. If it's a +5, you get a +5 on top of whatever it gives you. So, as an example, let's go with one of the more common types of armor people start with, leather armor. Leather armor starts you with 11 AC plus your dex mod. In this case, it would be 13. But if you're a dex heavy character, you definitely want that to be higher. Like I said, medium armor lets you add your dex mod up to a maximum of 2. And heavy armor, you don't add your dex mod at all. You just get the AC boost. But you can still wield a shield with all of them. Okay, so we're through AC. That's how hard you are to hit. Initiative. I will write down what our AC is right now. So our AC would be... It would be 12 with no armor. We don't have any armor on right now. We haven't added anything. So, initiative. Initiative is going to be 10 plus your dex mod. That's it. There are some special feats that give you like extra initiative stuff, but it's going to be a +2. It's going to be whatever. Why did I say 10 plus your dex mod? It's just your dex mod. I'm sorry if that was confusing. I confused myself. Your initiative is your dex mod. That's what it is. Now, initiative is going to be who goes first in battle. So, it's going to go like this. When you start an encounter, and all the enemies become hostile to you, your Dungeon Master is going to tell you to roll initiative. Roll for initiative, roll initiative. It's all the same. So, you're going to take your d20, you're going to roll, we got a 10. So, you're going to add your initiative modifier, which is your dex mod, which is +2. That's going to be a total of 12. That's what initiative is. It's who goes first in combat. So, speed. We haven't picked a race yet, but most races have a walking speed of 30 feet. So, we're going to go basic, and we're just going to give ourselves a walking speed of 30 feet. Now we're going to hop into the game here. So, each one of these squares is 5 feet. If you're standing on this square and you want to move, every one of these squares around you, including diagonal squares, are 5 feet. So, let's say there's an enemy way over here, and we want to get up there to attack it. We're going to move 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So, most weapons, unless they have the reach property, will let you attack 5 feet around you, which means the immediate squares to your front, back, left, right, and diagonals. You can attack there. But that's attacking, and we'll get into that in a moment. We're just covering movement. So, on your turn, for your speed, you can move up to 30 feet if that's your speed. If you have more, you can move more. You don't have to move all of your speed. You don't have to move all your speed. There's also an action that you can take. Oh, actually, we'll get to actions and everything you can do on your turn later. That's going to get confusing. For right now, just know every square is 5 feet, even diagonal squares. And you can move up to your speed or less, depending on where you want to go. So, we're going to move down to hit points. When you start your character at level 1, your class will determine your hit die. Your hit die is how much health you get when you roll a hit die to heal. What type of hit die you get is depending on your class. So the Barbarian starts with a D12. He has the biggest hit die. There are 2 other classes that start with a D10. Most classes have a D8 for their hit die, and the Wizard has a D6. The Wizard has the smallest hit die in the game, but the Barbarian has a big old 12. So, first level, you will not need to roll for health. You will take the max amount of health that you get from your hit die and add your Constitution modifier to it. That's why you never want to dump Constitution. Put your highest value number that you get from rolling into your best stat, the stat you're going to use a lot, and put your second highest into Constitution, and then your third highest into Dexterity, probably. If you can afford to dump Dexterity, that's great. But never, ever dump Constitution, ever. Do not put your lowest stat here. You are setting yourself up for failure. So, at this level, we're going to start with 12 health, which is the max of our hit die, plus 2 from our Constitution modifier. We're going to start with 14 HP. So our max hit points are 14, and our current hit points are 14. That's what we're starting with at level 1. So, temporary hit points. This is a little different. You won't get temporary hit points normally. As a barbarian, I don't know if there's any abilities that give you temporary hit points. This is basically a shield. Whenever you get attacked, if you have temporary hit points, like someone casts false life on you and gives you however many temporary hits, say they give you 6. They give you 6 temporary hit points. If you get hit for 4 health, you will take that 4 HP out of your temporary hit points first. Now, temporary hit points cannot be stacked, meaning if someone casts a spell on you that gives you temporary hit points, someone else cannot cast a spell on you and give you more temporary hit points. You can only have one pool of temporary hit points. So, someone cannot cast false life on you 3 times and stack your temp HP up. You can only get temporary hit points 1 time. Now, if the temporary hit points you get is higher than the temporary hit points you already have, you can raise them up to that, but you cannot get more temporary hit points on top of what you have. So, hit dice. You have a number of hit dice equal to whatever level you are. We are a first level barbarian, meaning we have 1 D12 hit die. Well, it'll be 1 out of 1. So we have 1 out of a possible 1 D12 hit die. We're going to talk about rests now. There's a short rest and there's a long rest. A short rest is when you sit down for 30 minutes to an hour, I believe it's an hour, to sit and rest. A long rest is when you sleep. You have to take 8 hours. Some races don't have to take 8 hours, like Elves and Warforged, but most races need to sleep. And when you sleep, you take 8 hours to rest. When you take a long rest, everything is replenished. Your spell slots are replenished. Your hit die are replenished up to half the maximum. If you have 4 hit die, you take a long rest, you get 2 back. So, when you short rest, if you take damage, say you take 7 damage, and now you're down to 7 health. Oh man, I really need to heal. I'm going to roll my 1 hit die. I rolled an 8, plus my Constitution modifier, which is 10. I am now back up to 14 and fully healed. That's how you roll hit die when you take a short rest. Short rest can be, you can do a few things. You could role play during your short rest. You can perform some kind of activity, make arrows. You can do something. Ask your DM. Can I do this during the hour we have to short rest? And if it's within reason, he'll probably let you do it. Okay. So, we're almost through this section, but unfortunately, we need to talk about death saves. Now, this will happen. This will happen to you. You will never go your whole D&D career and never have to roll a death save. It's going to happen. So, in Dungeons & Dragons, when you get knocked down to 0 HP, you fall unconscious. So, what happens when you fall unconscious? Unconscious is a condition. Like paralyzed or poisoned, it is a condition. Unconscious means well, you're unconscious, and you need to start rolling death saves on each of your turns. On each turn, every turn you start unconscious. So every time you start your turn, if you are unconscious when you start your turn, you will have to roll a death save. If you roll above a 10, you may mark one death save as a success. If you roll a natural 20, you may mark 2 death saves as a success. However, if you roll a 9 or lower, you mark 1 death save as a failure. And if you roll a natural 1, well, you mark 2 death saves as a failure. The upside to death saves, if you roll 3 successful death saves, you come back to consciousness with 1 HP. If you fail your 3 death saves, however, you die. Healing magic no longer works on you. You die. If you are attacked while you are unconscious, the attacker receives an automatic critical hit which fails 2 of your death saves. They're not going to miss you while you're laying on the ground. If they are a melee combatant only, if they are a ranged combatant, they actually have disadvantage on you because you are laying on the ground. But we'll get into all that in a bit. So, you can be healed while you're unconscious. Someone can cast a spell on you, which will give you the health from the spell. You will immediately regain consciousness, but you will still be laying prone on the floor. Someone can give you a potion, which will also heal you, which will give you the hit points, and you will become conscious, and you will no longer be dying. On the other hand, there is a cantrip, which is a level 0 spell that you can cast infinitely, called Spare the Dying. It does what is called stabilizing you. If someone stabilizes you, it will stop you from making death saves, but you will still be at 0 HP and be unconscious. You have to get health points back to come back to consciousness. People can also perform a medicine check on you, which is one of your skills. It goes off of wisdom. And that will also stabilize you. Sorry. Okay, so we've gone over all of this. That is just about everything that's on the character sheet. So, since we're done with all the nitty-gritty stuff, I suppose there is one more thing that needs to go over, but it's not very complicated and it won't take long. Passive perception. Your passive perception goes off of 10 plus your perception skill, which goes off of your wisdom. Because we're proficient in perception, we get a +2, and our passive perception is 12. This means when you're just kind of hanging about and you're not really looking at anything, it's what you notice. 12 isn't particularly high, but it's better than a 10 or less than 10. This is up to your DM to determine whether you notice something passively without having to make a perception check and look for it. So, let's jump into the game here, and we'll get attacking and spell casting going on. So, we had a good little thing going on here about an enemy and attacking. So, we're going to be using medium creatures. As an example, medium creatures are normal sized. They're people sized. We are medium creatures as humans, and any medium creature is around our size. Also, small creatures and tiny creatures fall into this category of one square big enemies. Then you have large creatures, you have huge creatures, and you have gargantuan creatures. Now, the danger of these is we as medium creatures do 1 damage die worth of damage. If you're using a rapier does 1d8 damage. If a large creature wielded a rapier, they would do 2d8 worth of damage, and so on and so forth. A huge creature would do 3d8 worth of damage, and a gargantuan creature would do 4d8 worth of damage. Basically, as a creature gets bigger, its damage die adds up. And gargantuan creatures, they can get bigger than this. It just depends. This is a catch-all for massive giant creatures, and it is up to the DM to determine how big they are and how much damage they do. Well, if you're making your own monsters, that is. If you're reading from the books or off of an online material, it will tell you with their stat block, which is basically just a character sheet for a monster. So, we're going to go out here, and we're going to set up a little mock battle scenario with 2 zombies. Zombies. Okay, so we have 2 zombies, and just for brevity's sake, we're not wearing armor, so our 12 AC will stick. Now, at level 1, if you were by yourself at level 1, you would probably not be able to handle 2 zombies. However, you might be able to, if you get lucky. Zombies have a hit point of 22, unmodified, and an armor class of 8. So, they are very easy to hit, but they have a lot of HP for their level, for their challenge rating, or CR. They are 1/4 challenge rating, which means it should take 4 characters. There's no 1/4, but it should basically take 4 of these to equal 1 level 1 character. Now, CR is a little wishy-washy. Don't take that at face value. A CR1 creature, under no special circumstances, cannot take out 4 zombies. It's not going to happen. Your character will die. So, when you're working off of CRs, be careful, because it is deceptive. So, we're going to have a little mock fight here. Just for brevity's sake, we're not wearing armor. So our armor class of 12 stands as it is. We're going to take Barbarian out of the mix. We are just a blank slate character. Wielding, we're going to say this is probably a broadsword, which is considered a martial weapon. There are martial weapons, and then there are simple weapons. And your class will tell you... Oh, a longsword. Sorry, not a broadsword, a longsword. So a longsword is considered versatile. It does 1d8 slashing damage when you wield it with one hand. However, when wielded in 2 hands, it does 1d10 slashing damage. It has the versatile property. So, we have our guy here. We have 30 feet of movement. We have a long sword. It does a d8 damage, plus our strength mod when we hit. So, we're going to move 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. But, uh-oh, we can't get to our target. So, let me grab something very quickly, because I need a reference thing. Here. Let me get my DM screen. Okay. So, I will teach you now all the things you can do on your turn. We have moved our 30 feet that we can move. We are not in range of these creatures to attack them. So, what do? Well, the first thing is to just not move at all. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. You stay where you're at, hope they don't make it to you, and just wait for them to get closer to you. They're zombies, they're mindless creatures, they will get closer to you. But, here's how the combat goes. You determine if there's a surprise round. If there's no surprise, meaning no one got the jump on anyone, you move to establishing positions. You decide where all the characters were, where all the monsters are, as well as which direction they're facing. They're going to be facing us. You roll initiative. So, we're going to roll our initiative. We got a 3. That's probably not very good. That's going to be a 3 plus our plus 2, which is going to be 5 total. Now, the zombies are going to be rolled as 1 initiative. All the zombies will be rolled the same. They have an initiative score of -2. They still got a 15 total. That's a 17, minus 2. So, the zombies will be going first. So, we don't even get to move. We're going to take turns. We're all going to take turns in the initiative order. And then after that, we're just going to go around again until the fighting stops. So, the zombies are going to go first. I'm going to mark where we're standing with this little blue block. And we'll pretend that's us. So, from the zombie's perspective, there we are. He is going to move 5, 10, 15. What is your speed, my good man? 20. He's going to move 20 feet towards us, as that is his speed. But actually, he's going to take an action. So, this is his action phase. On each of your turns, you can take an action, a bonus action, a reaction, and a free item interaction. So, the actions you can take on your turn. You can attack. You may cast a spell. So those are your offensive actions. You may dash, which means you may double your movement speed, but it will cost you your action, meaning you can't also attack. You can disengage, meaning we'll go over and disengage in a moment. So, dash, move double your speed. Dodge, you will gain a dexterity bonus to your saving throw, meaning you'll gain advantage on dexterity saving throws is what that means. Advantage is when you roll 2 die instead of 1 and take the higher number, which would be a 6. Disadvantage is doing the same thing, but taking the lower number, which would be an 11 in this case. So, that's what dodging does for you. Dodging gives you an advantage on dexterity saves, but it also gives disadvantage to enemies who are attacking you. The help action grants a bonus to an ally or that one is going to need a further explanation. So, to use the help action, we're going to come over here and start a new scenario. If there is an enemy, and you are around it, like this. If you are not confident you can hit this enemy, you may take the help action to distract the enemy and give your friend advantage on their attack rolls against it. The help action is basically distracting an enemy, or you can give them advantage on an ability check by helping them with it. That is what the help action does. So, other than that, you have hide. If you're in a dimly or dark area, you may make a stealth check to become an unseen attacker, which means they don't know where you're at, and you gain advantage on any attack roll you make against them. You may ready an action, meaning you can take your turn to set up an action. If that thing comes closer to me, I'm going to attack it when it comes in range. Or, if that thing moves towards my ally, I'm going to blast it with a spell. Or anything you can come up with. You can ready any sort of thing as long as your DM approves it. It's basically preparing an action in advance. Search. You're not going to do this a lot in combat, but you may search containers or search around with a perception check to look around you. Or you can use an object. You can use or manipulate an object near you, such as a lever on a wall, or, moving a carpet, or something else. So, in this case, the zombie is going to make the dash action. It has moved its 20-foot move speed, and it's going to dash and double its speed to 40. So it's going to move 25, 30, 35, 40. Now, even if it had gotten to you within 5 feet of you, which it's not, if it had gotten within 5 feet of you, it still could not attack you because it used its action to use the dash action. Okay, the other zombie will do the same thing. It will immediately dash towards, and 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. So it will move 40 feet forward, and it will have to end its turn. Now, it is our turn. So, we're in a bit of a predicament. We have two enemies dashing straight for us. We have a sword, and not much else. What are we going to do? In this scenario where we have no special abilities, we are basically a commoner. So, what we can do, there's no way that they will not surround us next turn. But we have to hope our 12 AC gets us through. We're going to move 5, and now we're in its space. We are close enough to attack it and it us. We're going to move over here to the corner, and we're going to make an attack against the creature. So, what we're going to do is we're going to take our D20. We're going to take our D20, and we're going to roll. That's a 2. So, what we add to this, we're going to add our strength modifier, and because we're proficient in martial weapons, i.e. longswords, and other martial weapons, we're going to add our proficiency bonus, which is plus 5 total, to make it a 7. Now, 7 does not beat the armor class of 8 that the zombie has. So that is a miss. Now this is where things go bad. This zombie is not going to move. It's going to attack us from where it's at. This zombie, however, is going to go 5, 10, 15, 20, and move here. Now, there is a rule called flanking. If you and an ally are like this, or like this on an enemy, you are flanking it, giving you both advantage on the attack rolls. However, neither of these zombies are in this position. Therefore, the attack rolls, we will be taking 2 attacks here, but the attack rolls will not be at advantage. So, they're going to use their slam attack. And I'm going to roll both of these attacks. That's a 2, and that's a 17. So, our AC is 12. They have to beat 12 to hit us. They have a +1 to strength and a +2 to proficiency. So they're going to get a +3 to hit. This is going to make that an unnatural 20, and that's going to make that 5 total. This one will miss. This one is going to hit us. Their slam attack does 1d6 damage. So we're going to roll this. 1. Okay, that's not so bad. They do 1d6 plus their strength modifier in damage, which means they're going to deal 2 damage to us, knocking our health down to 12. It could have been worse. It could have been worse. So, now we're in a sticky situation. We now have 2 enemies right on top of us. They're not smart enough to move around and flank us. However, they are just going to keep attacking us until we die. So, we have to kill one of these guys, or we can disengage. When you disengage, you will not provoke what's called opportunity attacks from enemies. An opportunity attack is if you move out of an enemy's aggressive area, which is the area directly around them, they will get an attack against you as you move away from them. If you disengage, they will not get to do so. So we will 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 move here. Now, let's say, for example, we have a bow. How do you attack with a bow? Well, the way you attack with a bow is the same way you attack with a normal weapon. You just use your dexterity instead of your strength. So, a lot of classes will let you start with some sort of crossbow or a hand crossbow or something like that. So let's say we want to use our light crossbow now. And let's say we're holding it in our left hand while we were attacking with our sword. We will stow our sword, and we will pull up our crossbow in our other hand. So, this is what we'll do. We will declare an attack against one of these 2 zombies. And we will make our attack roll. That's going to be a 12. Plus our dexterity modifier, plus our proficiency, that's going to be 16 total to hit. Now, 16 is greater than the 8 armor class of the zombie, meaning we will hit it. Now, the light crossbow, I'm a little fuzzy, but I believe the light crossbow does 1d6 damage. We're going to do 5 plus our dexterity modifier. You do not add proficiency bonus to damage rolls. So we will do 7 damage to the zombie. Now, if we were smart, we would kite these zombies around because we're faster than them. and the zombies may not be able to catch us. However, do you see what I did wrong there? We moved here to here by disengaging, which is an action. We cannot take 2 actions on a turn, which means we could not have made that attack. Now, what will happen on the next turn is the zombie will 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, with a dash right back up to us. And this could effectively go on forever. So, that's how combat works. That was the gist of combat. Now, as a barbarian, we would get unarmored defense and, you know, probably a better weapon than a broadsword. But that was the gist of combat. Now, you can do other things in combat. You can do pretty much whatever you want. Just ask your DM. This is a role-playing game, after all. If there's a chair and you lose your weapon, you can grab that chair and toss it at your opponent. You can shove your opponent onto their back using the shove action, which I don't know why it's not on here. So let me go over that real quick. Shove. Shove is an action you can take on your turn, and it will be a, I believe, a athletics strength check contested by your opponent's AC, I believe. Let me look that up. I could be completely wrong about that. Sorry, I can't remember everything. Alright, so let me see. Shove, 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 shove. Oh, jeez. Okay, actions in combat. Should be under attack. Maybe not. Okay. I cannot find it. I guess that's because shove isn't an action. It's a special action. Which... Okay, shoving a creature. Using the attack action, you can make a special melee attack to shove a creature to either knock it prone or push it away from you. If you're able to make multiple attacks, this attack replaces one of them. Okay, so it counts as an attack roll. It is contested by... It is a contest between your strength, athletics, or acrobatics, and your opponent's... Oh, it's... I'm so sorry. It is an athletics check for you opposed by your target's athletics or acrobatics check. And whoever rolls higher, they either fall prone or nothing happens. Okay, never mind. It's either knocked prone or pushed 5 feet away from you if it succeeds. I am so sorry. I was very fuzzy on that rule. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff to go over here, and I am trying to condense it all. So, one more time. To shove a creature, make an attack action against the creature. And if you will roll your athletics, and the creature will contest that by rolling athletics or acrobatics. And if you roll higher, your opponent will get knocked prone, which means knocked onto their back or stomach. They'll be laying down. Or, if they succeed, they'll be pushed 5 feet away from you. So, that's the basics of combat. And you just go until you're dead or they're dead. Or, you can run away. That's always an option. So, we've gone over combat, we've gone over the gist of the character sheet. Let me see what's left. Spellcasting, yes. We need to go over spellcasting, because that will bring us into saving throws as well. Okay. So, I have another sheet here. It looks like this. Let me move all of this. This is your spell sheet. So, it looks complicated, but it's really not. You have cantrips, which are your basic, super basic spells that you get at level 1, and then you go all the way to down here to 9th level spells, which you get at level 17 for most classes. Some classes don't get 9th level spells, but full spellcasters get up to 9th level spells. The way you cast spells is when you cast a spell, you will have spell slots. Let me give you an example. Okay, so barbarians can't cast spells, obviously. But, you know who can cast spells? Sorcerers. And wizards, and warlocks, and rangers. There's a few that can cast spells, and paladins. However, as a first level sorcerer, you will have 4 cantrips that you can learn. You will have 2 spells that you know, and you will have 2 first level spell slots, which means you can cast 2 first level spells, or you can cast any of your first level spells twice, and you can cast an infinite amount of cantrips. And you will know 4 of these. These all increase as you level up. So, you learn your second level spells at level... Let's see. At level 3, you learn second level spells. At level 5, you learn third level spells. At level 7, you learn 4th level spells. At level 9, you learn 5th level spells. At level 11, you learn 6th, 13, 7th, 15, 8th, and 17, 9th. Every 2 levels, you get higher level spells, basically. That's an easy way to do it. Every 2 levels, you get higher level spells, and your spell slots for your lower level spells increase, generally. Until you get up to 6th level spells. You will only have 1 spell slot for 6th and 7th level spells until 18th and 19th level respectively, but you will only ever have 1 8th and 9th level spell. Okay, so, like I said, cantrips are spells you can cast infinitely. These are your super, super basic spells that they're either utility spells or they don't do a whole lot of damage. So, let me take this away for a second. But on your turn, casting a spell can be one of your actions. Or it is your action, sorry. You get 1 action a turn. So, when you cast a cantrip, say you cast Chill Touch, because that will fit nicely into what we've been talking about. So, say you are here, and your enemy is way the hell over here. So you would look at your spell's range, and you would see, is my opponent within the range of my spell? In this case, it's 120 feet. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. He's 80 feet from you. Yes, he is within range of your chill touch. So, you would declare, I'm casting chill touch at this zombie. You will roll roll your attack. It is a ranged spell attack, so you roll your attack and you'll add your spell attack modifier. As a sorcerer, your spell attack will be charisma. Now, we rolled a 17 plus 0. You would never have a plus 0 as your base stat, but this is what we're going off of. You will go off your charisma. So, we rolled a 17 plus 0 is 17, plus your proficiency bonus is 19. You will add your proficiency bonus to spell attacks because you're always proficient with your spells. So, Chill Touch deals 1d8 necrotic damage. The target can't regain hit points until the start of our next turn, and the hand clings to the target. If your target is an undead, it also has disadvantage on attack rolls against you. The zombie is an undead, so it will be affected by that special rule. On the other hand, it will take 2 damage. You don't add anything to your cantrips unless you have an ability that says so. So it'll take 2 damage from the d8 we just rolled. And that is the end of your action. Now, some spells can be cast as a bonus action, like Shield of Faith. It can't be cast by a sorcerer, but it can be cast by a cleric. Bonus actions you may take if you have an ability that lets you take a bonus action. So you may take an action and a bonus action on your turn. Some things, like Hellish Rebuke, the spell, there's a spell called Hellish Rebuke, and that takes a reaction. So a reaction occurs on the enemy's turn. Let's take Hellish Rebuke, for example. If a creature attacks you and causes damage to you, you can take your reaction. You get 1 reaction in between your turns, and you may cast Hellish Rebuke because it uses your reaction. Okay, so now let's go over a different kind of spell. Let's go over a spell that makes you or an enemy, whoever's the target of the spell, make a saving throw. So, there's a fairly popular one with clerics called Sacred Flame. Sacred Flame also deals 1d8 radiant damage. However, the target needs to make a saving throw. Now, that will consult this little dealie here. So a zombie's dexterity is 6, which means it's a -2. So it will roll this saving throw. It rolled a 9. And it will -2 from that. 7. So, this will go off entirely of your character's spell save DC, which will be right up here. Let's see. Right here. Spell save DC. Now, the way you calculate your spell save DC is 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your spell modifier. In this case, our spell mod's a 0, and that is a 2. Plus 2 for proficiency. So it's 8 plus 2 plus 0, 10. 10 is our spell save DC. It rolled a 7, so it fails the save. However, if it had rolled a 10 or better, it would have succeeded the save, taking no damage. Now, some spells say that on a successful save, the target takes half damage from the spell. Cantrips do not. So it will take the 1d8 radiant damage. It'll take 8 damage, and we move on with our lives. So, that's how saving throws work. You make a saving throw of the trait against the target's spell save DC, which is 8, plus proficiency bonus, plus the target, or the caster's, sorry, plus the caster's spellcasting modifier. If you're a cleric, it'll be wisdom. If you're a wizard, it'll be intelligence. If you're a sorcerer, it'll be charisma. Charisma is also the spellcasting modifier for bards and paladins. Wisdom is also the spellcasting modifier of rangers. I believe wizards and artificers go off of intelligence to cast their saves. Don't ask me about artificers, I've never played one. I don't know much about them, but they are pretty cool. Alright, so we've gone over practically every part of the character sheet, spells, oh boy. We've gone over the character sheet, we've gone over how combat goes, all the actions available to you on your turn, cantrips, your spell attack bonus, your spell casting ability. Yeah, we've gone over basically everything you need to know about combat, how weapons work, what actions you can take. I guess we can go over conditions. So, there are 13 conditions. Now, these are things that will probably happen to your character at some point. There's blinded, creature/player cannot see, automatic failure on anything requiring vision, attacks against attacks against the blinded target have advantage, and attacking is at disadvantage. Charmed. You cannot attack the charmer. The charmer has advantage on ability checks against the charmed creature/player. Deafened. Creature/player cannot hear. Automatically fails anything requiring sound or listening. Frightened. You have disadvantage to all attack/defense rolls while the source of fear is in sight. Cannot willingly move closer to the source of fear. So when you are frightened of a creature, you must move away from the creature if you move at all. And any attack/save you make is at disadvantage if you can see the creature. If you're facing it and you can see it, everything you do is at disadvantage. Grappled. Your speed becomes 0. The grappler's speed also becomes 0.
I'll be back in about an hour, baby.
Alright. Let's see. It ends if the grappler is incapacitated, or the grappled creature is moved out of reach of the grappler. You may also attempt a strength athletics check or a dexterity acrobatics check on your turn to escape the grapple. This is contested by the target's athletics. Incapacitated. You may not take actions or reactions. Pretty simple. Invisible. You're impossible to see without magical aid or special sense. Considered heavily obscured, which means darkness, opaque fog, or dense foliage. Blocks vision entirely. You literally cannot be seen while invisible. You can still be heard by noises that you make, and attacks against you have disadvantage, and attacks you make are at advantage while invisible. There are 2 kinds of invisibility. There's lesser invisibility, which if you make an action, you take the attack action or cast a spell, your invisibility will break. And then there's greater invisibility, which you stay invisible for the entire duration no matter what. Unless someone casts like Dispel Magic on you or something crazy like that. Paralyzed. You are incapacitated and cannot move or speak. You automatically fail strength and dexterity saving throws. Sorry. So, poisoned. You are at disadvantage for all attack rolls that you make and ability checks. Poisoned is crazy. It's very bad to be poisoned. Prone. You may only crawl. You are at disadvantage to attack rolls. You gain advantage to attacks, or you can only crawl. You are at disadvantage to any attack rolls you make, and anything that attacks you gains advantage if they are within 5 feet of you. If they make a ranged attack, they are at disadvantage. The condition ends upon standing up. You use half your movement to stand up from a prone condition. Restrained. Your speed is 0. Any attack rolls against you have advantage, and you are at disadvantage to all dexterity saving throws. Stunned. Now, you don't want to be stunned. Stunned is crazy, crazy good. The target is incapacitated, it fails all strength and dexterity rolls, and attacks against it have advantage. Stunned is nuts. Unconscious. You are incapacitated, cannot move or speak, unaware of your surroundings. You drop all held items, automatically fail strength and dexterity checks, and all attacks against you within 5 feet of you are critical hits. So anything next to you that's attacking you is automatic critical. Okay, so hi, that's that. So I think I've gone over practically everything you need to know about combat and how to do things in combat. Yeah. So let's go back to spellcasting a little bit. So most spells, they... How do I explain this? For casting spells, you have 3 things when you're casting a spell. They are your components. There are verbal components, which means you have to say something to cast the spell. There are somatic components, which means you got to move your hands around and do little signs in the air to cast your spells. And then there are material components, which the spell will tell you what materials you need. If it does not say it is consumed by the spell, you can use it as many times as you want. However, if it needs a component and that component is consumed by the spell, which it will say, you lose that component. Now, let me tell you about spellcasting focuses. A spellcasting focus is used to cast a spell without material components. You know, it could be a staff or a holy symbol for a cleric, like a staff for a wizard, an orb, a magical orb, a bard's flute. You know, it'll tell you what you can make your spellcasting focus out of. But you get your first one for free, basically. The next one you get, you will have to make it yourself and channel magic into it. Okay, so spells with verbal components. If you are in an area where no sound can be made, like under the silence spell, you cannot cast spells that require verbal components. If your hands are tied behind your back, or you have 2 weapons Like, you have no free hands, with no special abilities, you cannot cast spells that have somatic components. If you do not have your spellcasting focus, and you do not have materials on hand, you cannot cast spells that have material components, especially spells that consume materials. Now, a lot of DMs, if you have a component pouch, which is something you can pick up, a lot of DMs will just say, alright, you have a component pouch, you have the basic components to cast most of your spells. Now, let's talk about spells that have components that are used up upon casting the spell, such as Revivify. Now, Revivify is a very good spell. If you get to your target within a minute of them dying, you can cast a spell on them and it will return them to life. It can't restore missing body parts, and it can't resurrect anyone that's died of old age. But if you get to them within 60 seconds, you can bring them back to life. However, this spell consumes diamonds worth 300 gold pieces total. So it's a very costly spell. That's its material component. But it also requires verbal and somatic components. So it requires all three. And a lot of spells will require verbal, somatic, and material components. So you have to be able to speak, you have to be able to move your hands, and you have to be able, well, I suppose the spell casting focus would, it helps with material and somatic, I believe. But you need to be able to speak still. Okay, so I've gone over a lot of stuff now. We've gone over how to attack, how combat works. That's basically the basics. I could go into all the classes as well. We do have a good bit of time left. I think we might go over the classes as well. Just not in depth, because that would take 10 million forevers to go over all the classes in depth. But we will talk about the classes as they are. So, your classes, from the top, in alphabetical order, we have Artificer, Barbarian, Bard, Cleric, Druid, Fighter, Monk, Paladin, Ranger, Rogue, Sorcerer, Warlock, Wizard. Those are your classes. There are 13 in total. I'm going to gloss over Artificer. I don't understand really how Artificers work. They're one of the more complicated classes. But they have a D8 hit die, which means, well, we've gone over hit die already. They have a D8 hit die, and they get proficiency in Constitution and Intelligence saving throws. They are a spellcaster. Well, actually, they're what we call a half caster. They only get up to 5th level spells because some of their potential comes from melee combat. Like I said, Artificers are a little complex. I've never played one. I would need to look into that way more. But they are a half caster, and they deal with magic, and they have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 subclasses. So your subclass is going to be, it's going to be what differentiates you from others of your type. So if you're an Artificer, You can also be an alchemist, an artillerist, a battlesmith, or an armorer. And all of these have their own special things going on. They give you different abilities than if you were a battlesmith, if you're an artillerist, you know? So, we're going to move on to Barbarian. Barbarian is a martial class. They have 10. Yeah. They have. No, they have 9. They have 9 different subclasses. And they're all about raging and just. They're your tank and they're your damage dealer. You don't want to get in the way of a raging barbarian. Bard, they are your support. If you have a team already and you feel like you want to play a bard, bards can be added onto any good team and make them even better. I'm playing a bard right now in my online game that we play every Thursday. But bards deal with music and they cast spells through their instrument. Clerics are all about healing. They're all about, well, to say they're all about healing is horribly misleading. They can heal better than any other class. Life domain clerics are the best healers in the game. But there's also a bunch of other domains if you don't want to be a healer. They're all about divine magic. Druids are nature magic. They're all about nature. Think of a cleric, but now cover it in leaves and take God away from the situation. And that's what you get a druid. Fighters are what people consider the basic class. They have a few really cool subclasses. I'm playing an Echo Knight fighter in one of the games that I DM. It's all about like you literally have an echo that you can summon of yourself. They get proficiency in every armor, every weapon. They are a blank slate to do with what you make of them. Monks. They are monks. They are all about harnessing their key points into special abilities depending on what monk subclass you want to play. They're very high dexterity characters. We'll get into that stuff in a second of each of these classes' specialties. The paladin is... How do you describe a paladin? They are warriors with a cause, I suppose. They also believe in God, or they don't. They don't have to. But they fight for their oath. They make an oath, and whatever oath they make, they fight for that cause. A lot of paladins are lawful by nature, but you don't have to be lawful if you don't want to be. Rangers, they are also nature-based, like druids, but they're less nature-based than druids are. But their spells come from nature. Rangers don't necessarily have to use a bow. They can use weapons just as well as they can use a bow and an arrow. They are also half-casters, like paladins, like artificers, rogues. Now, rogue is going to be your basic high dexterity class where you probably are going to use a bow and arrow. Their sneak attack is ridiculous. Like, it's really, really good. Rogue is one of the more popular classes to play, especially for new players. Sorcerer. Sorcerers have sorcerer points, and those can be used to do special sorcerer abilities. Like Twin Spell, you can cast a spell twice, or Quicken Spell. Sorcerers are really good at magic without having to try. Unlike wizards, they didn't have to go to school. They just do their magic. They also have a D6 hit die, which is one of the lowest in the game. It is the lowest, along with the wizard. The warlock. The warlock has a patron. You don't get your powers normally. You get it from making a deal with a god or a devil or something in between. You call out to whatever entity, whatever pact you want to choose in this point, and they give you special abilities. A really popular one for Warlock is Pact of the Fiend, which deals with fire magic, but you have to make a deal with an archdevil to do it. Another popular one is the Hexblade. You make a deal with the Raven Queen, who is the goddess of death in this universe. And it's all about... that one's a little hard to explain, actually. But, moving on to the wizard. The wizard's a wizard. He or she, has spent many years studying and researching and perfecting their craft, and high-level wizards are scary, and low-level wizards can be taken out with a swift kick to the leg, because most wizards don't have good constitution. Don't ever dump constitution. Let me tell you that right now. If you want to start as a wizard with 5 health and get killed by a falling tree branch, then go ahead. Dump constitution. Have a -1. Don't do that. You definitely don't want to start the game with 6 health. You want as much health as you can get starting out. But also, don't be in the front lines, dummy. Go to the back, where the wizard belongs, and try not to get hit. But yeah, low-level wizards are squishy, and high-level wizards are still squishy, but nothing will ever get near you ever. Because now you know 10 million spells, and you can decimate things with meteor swarms. And like Finger of Death and Disintegrate, and nothing will ever touch you again. So yeah. Hit dies, Artificer gets a D8, Barbarian gets a D12. Bard, Cleric, Druid, Monk, Rogue, and Wizard, and Warlock all get a D8. The Sorcerer and Wizard get a D6, and the Paladin, Fighter, and Ranger all get a D10. So that's basically your hit die is you get the maximum at level 1 plus your constitution. Maximum of that type of die. So, for example, if it's D8, you get 8 plus your constitution. Okay. Artificer's spellcasting ability is intelligence. The Bard's spellcasting ability is charisma. The Cleric's is wisdom. The Druid's is wisdom. The Paladin is charisma. The Ranger is wisdom. The Rogue does not have spells. Forget that I said that. The Sorcerer is charisma. The Warlock is charisma. The Wizard is intelligence. There are a few charisma-based casters. There's a lot of charisma-based casters. That's a lot of charisma. Alright, so we've gone over the classes. Obviously not in great detail, because that would take forever, and oh, well they're really coming on him. I don't know why I said that. Okay, that's basically the basics. And that's how you play D&D. Hi. I know, like, it's hard to see with this god-awful camera, but I hope I explained it well enough that maybe some of you can get into D&D now, and maybe some of you guys can get together and run a game or two. So yeah, that's gonna be all for this stream. I know we really didn't do much, but I did what I wanted to do, you know. I taught you guys how to play D&D. I gave you guys the basics. and I really hope you guys can get into it. Um, Maybe at some point in the future, I can get some people together and I can actually DM a game on this table. We'll see. That would be absolutely amazing. I would love that so much. But that's going to be it for this stream, guys. Sorry it wasn't the best quality, but I'm working with what I got here. But yeah, so that's going to be it. I hope everyone learned how to play D&D. That was the expectation here. Um, we'll be coming back Thursday. We're off tomorrow. We're coming back Thursday with Terraria. If you want to know when we go live, we have our schedule now posted over on Twitter. We go live at 1 p.m. Central Time every day, or every day we're going to stream. But we have our schedule up. Follow us on Twitter if you want to know when we go live. You can also hit that bell if you want to know when we go live as well. Here on YouTube, it'll send you a notification about it. Like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed, if you learned some stuff. Other than that, yeah. Hope you guys have a nice day. Later, guys.